Okay. So, I'm listening to, well, it's like I don't know why it didn't pop up on the screen there. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and whatnot. Like this, the audio book, or someone's reading it and stuff. And, alright, man. I told you I was part of a ritual sacrifice and everything like that, and or a ritual experience. Like they drew my blood and they did a spell, like whatever the fuck, right? I swear that they were trying to freaking they were trying to get me. Sounds really crazy and stuff, but. This goes back to vampirism and cannibalism, and yeah.
Jesus God Almighty, said the Southerner. What the hell's going on in this country? You'd never believe it, said my attorney. In L.A., it's out of control. First it was drugs, now it's witchcraft. Witchcraft? Shit, you can't mean it. Read the newspapers, I said. Man, you don't know trouble until you have to face down a bunch of these addicts gone crazy for human sacrifice. No, he said. That's science fiction stuff. Not where we operate, said my attorney. Hell, in Malibu alone, these goddamn Satan worshippers kill 6 or 8 people every day. He paused to sip his drink. And all they want is the blood, he continued. They'll take people right off the street if they have to. He nodded. Hell yes, just the other day we had a case where they grabbed a girl right out of a McDonald's hamburger stand. She was a waitress, about 16 years old, with a lot of people watching too. What happened? Said our friend. What did they do to her? He seemed very agitated by what he was hearing. Do? Said my attorney. Jesus Christ, man, they chopped her goddamn head off right there in the parking lot. Then they cut all kinds of holes in her and sucked out the blood. God almighty, the Georgia man exclaimed. And nobody did anything? What could they do? I said. The guy that took the head was about 6'7" and maybe 300 pounds. He was packing 2 Lugers, and the others had M16s. They were all veterans. The big guy used to be a major in the Marines, said my attorney. We know where he lives, but we can't get near the house. No, our friend shouted. Not a major. He wanted the pineal gland, I said. That's how he got so big. When he quit the Marines, he was just a little guy. Oh, my God, said our friend. That's horrible. It happens every day, said my attorney. Usually it's whole families. During the night. Most of them don't even wake up until they feel their heads going, and then, of course, it's... The bartender had stopped to listen. I'd been watching him. His expression was not calm. 3 more rums.
Real quick, kind of sounds like the Manson murders, right? Went into their homes at night. Satanic cult. They probably got that adrenochrome once, and Manson was like, hey, you want to know how to do it? That's how you do it. And that was pretty much it. Or, maybe, just saying. Let me see, where am I at on here? So 33:17. Okay, hold on a second.
His performance had given me a bad jolt. For a moment, I...
This is, that scene from the movie.
Thought his mind had snapped, that he actually believed he was being attacked by invisible enemies. But the room was quiet again. He was back in his chair watching Mission Impossible and fumbling idly with the hash pipe. It was empty. Where's that opium? He asked. I tossed him the kit bag. Be careful, I muttered. There's not much left. He chuckled. As your attorney, he said, I advise you not to worry. He nodded toward the bathroom. Take a hit out of that little brown bottle in my shaving kit. What is it? Adrenochrome, he said. You won't need much, just a little tiny taste. I got the bottle and dipped the head of a paper match into it. That's about right, he said. That stuff makes pure mescaline seem like ginger beer. You'll go completely crazy if you take too much. I licked the end of the match. Where'd you get this? I asked. You can't buy it. Never mind, he said. It's absolutely pure. I shook my head sadly. Jesus, what kind of monster client have you picked up this time? There's only one source for this stuff. He nodded. The adrenaline glands from a living human body, I said. It's no good if you get it out of a corpse. I know, he replied, but the guy didn't have any cash.
And that's the thing. You see, like, what I'm doing here is I'm going in reverse, too. You know, and things start making sense. They're telling me, establish the connection.
He's one of these Satanism freaks. He offered me human blood, said it would make me higher than I'd ever been in my life. He laughed. I thought he was kidding, so I told him I'd just as soon have an ounce or so of pure adrenochrome, or maybe just a fresh adrenaline gland to chew on. I could already feel the
Vampirism, cannibalism.
Stuff working on me. The first wave felt like a combination of mescaline and methadone. Maybe I should take a swim, I thought. Yeah, my attorney was saying. They nail this guy for child molesting, but he swears he didn't do it. Why should I fuck with children, he says. They're too small. He shrugged. Christ, what could I say? Even a goddamn werewolf is entitled to legal counsel. I didn't dare turn the creep down. He might have picked up a letter opener and gone after my pineal gland. Why not? I said. He could probably get Melvin Belli for that. I nodded, barely able to talk now. My body felt like I'd just been wired into a 220-volt socket. Shit, we should get us some of that stuff, I muttered finally. Just eat a big handful and see what happens. Some of what? Extract of pineal. He stared at me. Sure, he said. That's a good idea. One whiff of that shit would turn you into something out of a goddamn medical encyclopedia. Man, your head would swell up like a watermelon. You'd probably gain about 100 pounds in 2 hours. Claws, bleeding warts. Then you'd notice about 6 huge hairy tits swelling up on your back. He shook his head emphatically. Man, I'll try just about anything, but I'd never in hell touch a pineal gland. Last Christmas, somebody gave me a whole Jimson weed. The root must have weighed 2 pounds, enough for a year. But I ate the whole goddamn thing in about 20 minutes. I was leaning toward him, following his words intently. The slightest hesitation made me want to grab him by the throat and force him to talk faster. Right, I said eagerly. Jimson weed. What happened? Luckily, I vomited most of it right back up, he said. But even so, I went blind for 3 days. Christ, I couldn't even walk. My whole body turned to wax. I was such...
So, that's pretty interesting. I don't know what Jimson weed is. Damn you, phone. Let me actually just see if YouTube will pick it up. Oh, Jimson weed. Later hallucinogenics. Turtles Jimson weed story. Interesting. Alright, now hold on a second. Oops. So, yeah, found this on this forum and stuff. And yeah, it's Pizzagate, but you know what? I'm actually doing something to prove this shit. Men will be big when the sixth race is born to life, a new theophysic belief. 35 or 33 feet will be the average height, 3 eyes for human beings. Totally blows the lid off the theosophic New Age ideas in the late 1800s that all modern occult ideas are based off 33 feet tall. Is probably a wink nod to the 33-degree Masons who embrace the Luciferian doctrine of theosophy. This amazing account tells of a lady who somehow inhaled a worm or larva that worked its way into the growing in her pineal gland and made her believe she was seeing dinosaurs and mastodons and interacting with invisible entities in foreign languages. You know, so that goes to a theory that, you know, I had that, you know, maybe, you know, parasites are actually the aliens, you know, because we see that asteroids and everything of that nature can, you know, to carry life and things of that nature. And, well, we know that bacteria and things of very small organisms can live in very harsh climates. And that's the thing is, you know, just like we see with ants, you know, there's these bugs that, you know, parasites that take over their minds and everything like that. It's the flute worm, I think it's what it's called. And what it does is it gets ants to climb, excuse me, really high up on a blade of glass, like to, you know, and so it gets ate by the cow. And the larva or the parasite lays eggs within the cow, or like the I forget what exactly it likes grazing animals and stuff, and then it comes out in the dung and then continue from there. So you want to talk about, you know, being able to live in harsh climate, you know, conditions. You know, talking about living through digestive systems. And I mean, and I think that's really what we should be looking at, is looking into the parasites, you know, the bacteria that's within us, to see if there's any of these mind control, you know, things in there. You know, maybe you know, they have a form of telekinesis, you know, and able to transmit things. And if there's so many, you know, and they're right around us, then they could be, you know, disturbing our thoughts and things of that nature. So we work for them. It's entirely possible. Entirely possible. I mean, I remember when I was younger, friggin', I coughed up, you know, I pulled a worm out of my throat. It was so gross. Yeah. Friggin', yeah. You know, like, just right. I thought it was from popcorn or something. I don't know it, but yeah, it was gross. And yeah. Anyways, this article from, you know, I'm sorry for going on a tangent there, but you know, going back to, you know, the growing and stuff like that. This article from 1914 explains how ground up pineal glands could be used to make 1 and 2 year old babies into giant soldiers to fight in war and replenish the troops, and old people live forever. If that is not bad enough, it includes a statue of Moloch, comparing this all to ancient pagan sacrifice. The photos in the article go to show how feeding ground up pineal glands makes animals into giants. And actually check this one out. I had a little bit of an issue. Here we go. So this is from Times Dispatch. A food that does away with youth. Remarkable discoveries about glands in the brain that may enable science rapidly to turn children into men, chicks into chickens, calves into cows, to sates war's appetite for meat in men. In one of H.G. Wells' imaginative works, The Food of the Gods, he conceived a magic food which made giants of men, animals, and vegetables. Even more remarkable is a scientific discovery just brought to light, the effect of which may not only supply food for the war nations in a manner never before conceived, but likewise furnish made-to-order men to fill up the decimated ranks of contending armies. In a word, this new scientific food eliminates youth, or rather hastens maturity. Food animals born within the past few weeks, in which an ordinary course of events would not be available as food for European soldiers for many months to come, by the application of the new discovery made available within while children who ordinarily would not be enough to fight for war. Let's see here. The pineal gland, which is indicated in the above picture of the human brain, has been found to develop growth almost miraculously when administered as food. And it looks like a little pine cone. That's why it's pineal gland. And they say that's the third eye, and it actually receives light and everything of that nature. It said that there was a picture of Moloch. What's it? Photograph of two chicks, each 3 weeks old. The larger one had been fed on pineal glands, while the smaller was maintained under identical conditions, but without the pineal gland administered. Oh my God. I mean, like, is this not proof? And the extraordinary picture of war by Emil Mars, the famous Hungarian. Victims of Moloch. The eyes open and fury juice of a monster representing war. Alright. Victims of Moloch. Into the open and fiery jaws of a... Oh, it's juice. My fault. Wow. Wow. Okay, so does that prove cannibalism? Does that prove what I'm documenting now? There's actually science on this shit. Hold on a second. See, I'm having an issue. Okay. That's freaking crazy. Story of a blind man who could see and read his with his mind's eye, to the astonishment of audiences back in 1896. He claimed that Helen Keller possessed these same powers to see through her pineal glands. He gave answers blindfolded to written questions which he had never seen. He distinguished colors. And see, this gets into I can't remember the name of the operation. But, you know, basically the telekinesis projects done by the government and everything, because there's proof. And this is what journalism was actually journalism. That's why it's in, you know, this archive. So 19 goes to show how they tried feeding backward children pineal glands to make them smart, and how pineal glands eaten must be from the young in order to work properly. Okay, so now this is getting into a lot of the missing children and the late-term abortions. Okay, so abortions are pretty much human sacrifice. Without it being called that, because the thing is, if you have a seed, and you fertilize it and it starts to grow, or that's the thing, is like the germination process. Is that what it is? um goes begins. This is fucked up, dude. And I woke up having freaking nightmares and stuff. Not about this stuff, but just having nightmares. And I freaking can't go back to sleep. And just came across this shit. So this article from 1776 is the first account of a guy who seemed to accidentally come across a secret letter from a group of learned men who claimed they knew secret information about the pineal gland. And the thing is, the pineal gland, you look at, it goes into Freemasonry and stuff of that nature. So now, this is now evidence that there's something behind pineal gland, mind control, and the common transhumanists have mind. I don't know what this is. This guy goes to claim that he snuffed this powder and went into indescribable journeys where he basically entered into the minds of other people through their pineal glands. And see, that's that's pretty much like our little computer. And from my understanding, back in Egypt, or back in the day, our minds were our third eyes were a lot stronger. And that's why there's a lot of this dumbing down of people. And that's why they hide, or they illegalized psychedelics. Because, well, they don't want us to tap it into the third eye. And this is why I experiment with drugs. Bohemian Grove, that they did the rituals, yeah. And I think a lot of you know that. This this person did their research. Amazing articles. I'll talk about Bohemian Grove back in 1912. Talks about a wonderful evening where women were allowed to actually enter the grove and attend the atonement upon. Yes, a beautiful evening celebrating the boundless joy of the clothing hoods. One transformed into the perfect man. And so hopefully this, I know how to do my research and stuff. And the thing is, I've experienced, I got out of that shit. I got out of a very bad, it was a very crazy fucking ritual and shit. And, and like I said, and this is just confirms a lot of the fears and thoughts I had running through my mind that day, like that event. And, because I knew what was going to happen if I didn't maintain discipline. Alright? Take care, be safe, be kind, stay strong. I love you all. And yeah. This shit is real. 100% real.